Good evening. I would like to welcome you to the January 25th, 2022 meeting of the City Plan Commission. Before we begin, I will outline the procedure that we will follow for our public hearing. As each agenda item is called, the applicant or his or her representative and persons for the request will be allowed to speak. Then persons against the request will be allowed to speak. If there is opposition to the request, the applicant will be allowed to make a short rebuttal. All persons wishing to speak need to come to the microphone at the front of the room. Please state your name and address for the record. All statements made should be relevant to the agenda item and be limited to 3 minutes. If there are several persons in favor or opposed to a request, we encourage you to allow 1 or 2 persons to act as spokesperson for the group. If you like, a spokesperson for a group may request that the group stand and be recognized. While public discourse is very important to the commission, we have to maintain order in the meeting so that all persons may be heard and city business may be conducted. If so directed by me, the Sergeant at Arms shall remove from this meeting any person while addressing the commission or while attending the commission meeting makes personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, who becomes boisterous, or makes unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, whistles, yells, or similar demonstrations. The commission members have reviewed each of these items in a previous work session. The recommendation we make tonight to the City Council will be based on the work session and the information provided by staff, as well as any additional information presented tonight. After completing the hearing on each item, the Commission will consider action on the item. The action taken tonight on these items will be in the form of a recommendation to City Council. The City Council will also conduct a hearing on these items, which will be held Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Bosque Theater of the Waco Convention Center, 100 Washington Avenue. The record and recommendation of the Plan Commission and new testimony will be considered by the Council at that time. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our December 13th, 2021 work session and December 13th, 2021 business meeting. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, they stand approved as written. We will move on to our agenda items. First up are subdivisions. Staff, which ones we have first?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a public hearing on the following subdivision plat, final plat and construction plans of the Copper Springs Addition Phase 3, and staff has reviewed this plat and recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you. We'll open our public hearing. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak on the item? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? Close our public hearing. We have a recommendation of approval with conditions from city staff, and we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, based upon staff's finding, I'd like to recommend approval with conditions.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Ramos, second by Ms. Briscoe. Do we have any further discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse?
Yes.
Briscoe?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes.
Fajardo?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Jefferson?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Ramos?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes. Okay, staff, what are the remainder of our subdivisions before us tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is a public hearing on the following subdivision plats. Final plat of the Lake Ridge Estates Edition, lots 1 through 10, Block 1. Final plat and construction plans of the Liberty Oaks Edition, and final plat and construction plans of the Preserve at Bosque Bend Edition, Phase 3. Staff has reviewed these subdivision plats and recommends approval.
Thank you. Okay, we'll open our public hearing on these items. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to these items? We'll close our public hearing. On our subdivision plats, items 2, 3, and 4, we have a recommendation of approval from city staff, and we will recommend, or we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, recommend approval for 3 subdivisions per city staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vickers, second by Ms. Reynolds. Do we have any further discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse?
Yes.
Briscoe?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes.
Fajardo?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to our zoning application cases. In the case of Z-21-1, what is the recommendation of city staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing on a request from John R. Evans on behalf of JRE Golf Cars LLC for property at 1900 West Loop 340 to request a special permit for sale, rental of parts, repair, and storage of recreation vehicles in an M2 district. We mailed out 10 notices and had 0 returned. Planning Services recommends approval of the special permit based on the following findings. 1, that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located. 3, that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic, congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of a special exception. And 4, that available community facilities and services, including the road system providing access to the proposed use, are adequate for the proposed use.
Thank you. We'll open our public hearing. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak on this item? Anybody here to speak in opposition to this item? We'll close our public hearing. We have a recommendation of approval from city staff, and we will entertain a motion.
I move to approve based on the recommendation of city staff.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Lane, second by Mr. Vickers. Any further discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse.
Yes.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Jefferson.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith. Vickers.
Yes.
In the case of Z-22-2, what is the recommendation of city staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing on a request from Jerry Dyer on behalf of Renew Funding LLC for property at 1418 Spate Avenue to request a rezone from R2 to R3C. Staff mailed out 35 notices and had 0 returned. Planning Services recommends approval of this rezone request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is in conformance with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. 2, the property meets all the area and width requirements for the R3C zoning district. 3, the existing public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in the R3C zoning district. 4, there is other multifamily zoning in the vicinity of the subject property. And 5, the density allowed in the proposed R3C zoning is compatible with surrounding uses.
Thank you. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak on this item? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? We'll close our public hearing. We have a recommendation of approval from city staff. If we don't have any further discussion, we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval based on staff findings.
Second.
We have a recommendation of approval by Mr. Browse, second by Ms. Briscoe. Any final discussion? Please poll the commission.
Browse.
Yes.
Briscoe.
Yes.
Embry.
Yes.
Fajardo.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Jefferson.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Smith. Vickers.
Yes.
In this case of Z-22-4, what is the recommendation of city staff?
My apologies. Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing on request on on a request from Lena Ancha on behalf of Thulasi Enterprises LLC for property at 804 Cherry Street to rezone from R1B to R2. We mailed out 38 notices and had 0 returned on this request. Planning Services recommends disapproval of this request to change the zoning from R1B to R2 based on the following findings. 1, R1B zoning is the dominant zoning in the area, and there is not other R2 zoning in this block of Cherry Street. And 2, the existing R1B zoning is more compatible with the surrounding area than the proposed R2 zoning.
Thank you. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak on this item? Please come down. You can state your name and address the commission.
My name is Hanu. I'm from the 804 Cherry Street. And in response to the committee comments, one of the things was, it says Charlton Avenue was taken as a consideration, and which is actually 5 miles away from the stated address. And also on the same street, 712 Cherry Street is 3 or 4 blocks away, at less than 300 feet from the existing property that is already approved as R2. And also there is another block, 800 to 820 East Clay Avenue, as well as Forest Street, 1201 Forest Street are also R2. On the same lot, this lot is on Cherry Street, and few blocks from this one is an office zoning, and our lot is very close to I-35, and this is a mixed zoning, and it's an opportunity zoning, and there is there is no other issues like after rezoning. There won't be a problem with access or increased traffic concerns. Those were all clear, if I understand correctly. So, with that all said, I would ask the committee to give me an approval for building in R2 in this area, which would be very appropriate because it may serve as a transition zone as well from R1 to commercial area. We are very close to the commercial zoning and also very close to I-35 service road. Plus, there is an existing R2 on the same street, 300 feet away from us.
Thank you.
And then there are several other lots. Several other lots that are in the same area as the addresses that I mentioned are very close by, within the vicinity. And this lot has all the amenities that an R2 required for R2, including the access, and won't increase the traffic, won't cause any. And also this is a very rundown community, and we try to rebuild, and that helps to change the, change the face of the neighborhood as well. And right now there are all 50, 60 years old houses, rundown houses, and it's a very rundown neighborhood.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Have you talked to any of the existing neighbors about this application for rezoning?
I did not, but I thought you guys were going to send the letters, and if I don't know any of them, I don't want to knock on their doors without knowing what it is. So I thought they would express their concerns. But one neighbor that I know, only one neighbor has no issues with that, because the lot right in front of him is the office zoning. So it's I don't want to guess the wrong one, is the O1 or O2 or O3, I forgot which one it is, which is like 3 blocks on this side, 3 lots on this side in front of me. So it's not really an R1. It's a mixed zoning, and there is R2, C2, not C2, office buildings, R2 buildings.
Why are you seeking the zoning change?
I'm sorry.
Did you hear my question?
Yes, sir. What is the question again? I'm sorry.
So why are you seeking the zone change?
It's a business opportunity for me to build a duplex on the lot, so that to maximize the revenue, and also to provide. At the same time, I'm also doing good for the community, changing the face of the community as well.
So we're looking at a satellite image that shows a number of vacant lots in that area. Are there still vacant lots in that area?
Vacant lots, and even the houses are there. They're like 50, 60. Very old houses, rundown houses, and in my opinion, this doing something for the community.
Do you have plans drawn?
Not yet, but I have the plans, but I don't have them with me tonight. But I can definitely present to the city and before I do anything.
And your timeline for building?
As soon as I get the approval.
So you would bring 2 different units online to our community pretty quickly, it sounds like.
Very, very quickly, as soon as I get the approval. Everything is ready to go, it's just I need the approval. And that not only increases the revenue and then I improve the community, and also that's the area where the new growth is, and it's an opportunity zone, and there might be housing need as well. It serves all the purposes.
I understand this is in the Kendrick neighborhood. Have you gotten an opportunity to speak with the Kendrick Neighborhood Association about your plans?
No, I did not.
Do you have any additional questions for the speaker? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? We will close the public hearing. We have, as we heard, a recommendation of disapproval from city staff. Before we take a vote, do we have any questions or discussion? Before we entertain a motion, I should say.
Yeah, before we entertain a motion, I think that I would at least move to, or I would vote to approve this. We have a number of vacant lots in that area, and it's currently all designated as R1B. If people were interested in developing this area as R1B, it would have happened already. I think possibly approving this R2 and some future R2s could inject some energy into this area potentially. And so for that reason, I would vote to approve it.
In response to that, I definitely understand that position. I like the idea of kind of bringing some life to the neighborhood as well. That being said, right now I'm leaning towards voting for disapproval based on staff recommendation. I think that obviously city council gets to hear this and make a final decision. And I think if there's some time between now and a final decision where maybe the neighbors can all come together, and I think if the other neighbors presented that they were also in favor of this development happening, then that would go a long way for me saying approval. I'm hesitant to approve now just without having any responses from the neighbors yet, but like Mr. Lane said, there does seem to be quite a few vacant lots. I don't know if there would be much pushback from neighbors.
I guess I would think that if they wanted to express their disapproval, they've been given an opportunity to do so. Because we sent the notices, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's very fair. I just, again, with the city's interest and the idea of keeping this R1B, I would err on the side of having their approval versus not having their disapproval, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion.
Does city staff have alternate findings to support approval?
Yes, and I can read those on the record if that is a motion that the commission would like to make. So the alternate findings for approval would be, 1, the proposed zoning is in conformance with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. 2, the property meets all the area and width requirements for the R2 zoning district. And 3, the existing public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in the R2 zoning district.
I would, I'm sorry, is it okay? I would like to see the plans, because I know, B, you mentioned earlier, depending on how it's placed, it could present some challenges. So maybe seeing the plans and how it would fit into it, that may help.
I just want to remind the commission that your action tonight is specifically for the zoning. I know that there aren't a whole lot of differences between the R1B and the R2 that's being proposed, but your decision should not be based solely on this applicant's proposed project.
That's a good point. In our work session, y'all had mentioned, staff had mentioned that at least a number of the lots in this area have been potentially purchased by Baylor University. Do we have an idea of how many, like not exact number, but, a rough percentage. In my mind, I'm very sympathetic to the argument of maintaining the R1B zoning to protect existing homeowners in the area, and providing existing, landowners the opportunity to develop at their choosing. But if that's also, almost entirely, if the vacant property is almost entirely owned, let's say by Baylor University, and development may or may not come anytime soon, I don't know if that might change my perspective on it.
Yeah, this would just be a guess, educated guess, but probably about 20% of the properties in that larger area. And then just within 200, I believe there's the 200 feet area.
Clint, do you know what Baylor's plans are? Are they going to build multifamily, or what are they doing with these lots?
I don't know for sure. I don't think they have any imminent plans right now. It's just an area, between two of their big facilities, being the stadium and the research facility, the brick. But I don't think they have any specific plans.
Is it possible that they could be vacant forever?
Oh, there it is. I was looking over there.
Nate.
I don't think forever. I think the intent is at some point that area would transition, but I think it's more of a long-term.
So you think Baylor's possibly sitting on them now to sell them to single-family homes sometime in the future?
I think the intent would be that it would be some sort of use that would connect the two parts of campus, whether that be housing or other uses is to be seen, but I think the intent is long-term that there would be some sort of synergy between the two in that area between them.
Yeah, and I'll ask a question. I won't respond to that, but I'll ask a question that might, imply some things. The adjacent properties also, there's a large amount owned by the Waco Industrial Foundation. Would you speak to what percentage of that in the broader area might also be owned, just so that we have a sense of between Industrial Foundation and Baylor, how much of that is?
Sure. So most of the Waco Industrial Foundation land that's owned is the industrial zone land, yeah, that's closer to the interstate. So you do have, and the idea with that is at some point with the research center, the brick, that there would be spin-off industrial uses, kind of high-tech industrial uses. But most of the Waco Industrial Foundation land is already designated that industrial land use.
What street is, I'm looking at my map, what road is that up there at the top that crosses 35?
That's Forest.
Okay.
That goes across.
So it's kind of like Forest is separating that little pocket right there, because you got an established, pretty dense area on one side of Orchard, and then on the other side of Forest, it's just this little pocket right here that has some.
Yeah, I would say that if you're looking at the map, what I would call the east, where Orchard is kind of the main collector that runs through that neighborhood, the denser area of development where you don't have as many vacant lots is on the east side of Orchard. And then where this is on the kind of the west side between Orchard and the interstate, it's a little more sparsely populated with homes with more vacant lots.
So it could be just that one little pocket that's kind of being held on to, but surrounding or adjacent properties north and to the right on the map are being used, being filled.
I want to thank the commission for the discussion, because that further helped to understand what I was trying to get to. We don't have his exact plans, but we see kind of understanding what other people are doing in the area.
Are there any further points commission members would like to discuss? Well, we We have a recommendation to disapproval. We also have been, read some alternate findings for approval. And it sounds like there's a variety of takes probably amongst not just the commission, but in each one of us. So we will open it up for a motion on that.
I move that we recommend disapproval based on staff recommendation.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Reynolds for disapproval, excuse me. Do we have any additional discussion?
Question before we poll the commission. If disapproval is not approved, little double negative there, do we have the opportunity to move for approval instead? Or does that close the motions?
We would have the opportunity.
Okay.
I will speak for myself personally. I am not against this project specifically. I am, nor the addition of units of housing to our city core. But I'm very sensitive to local residents and having those changes be at least predictable for them. And so that's going to influence my personal vote on the item, just to say that in general. So please poll the commission.
Browse,
No.
Briscoe,
Yes.
Embry,
No.
Fajardo,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Lane,
No.
Ramos,
No.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And can I make a quick comment as well?
Please do.
I think I addressed this in my discussion, but this does go to city council before the recommendation is final, so you will have a chance to, one, present to them, and two, talk to your neighbors before that time, and perhaps that would be persuasive to the council if you're able to talk to them. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Please come in. That's fine.
I really appreciate your concerns about just based on the recommendations of the staff, but at the same time, there are a few things here. As I said, 20% of them are owned by Baylor. What if they're going to ask you for commercial, putting their housing or whatever? You're going to approve that? That's one question. And the other thing is, there are a lot of lots. If you look at the houses, they are run down, about to demolish. And I don't see why this would not bring a vibrant, people can use that land to really close to the Baylor, and this has a lot of uses as well. And also, we're trying to improve as well. It's not only, it's a win-win situation in my opinion. So that's why I would request the committee to consider approving.
As Mr. Smith said, please do attend the council meeting. I think, at least, again, speaking for myself, it's not a vote against your project specifically per se, but it is a wanting to make sure that the residents in the area aren't sort of subjected to adverse effects
And also,
down the line.
and also very close to this area. This is not in the R1B. I don't think there are going to be a lot of R1B houses because there is a foundry, there are a lot of things around it. I don't think a lot of people will be jumping up and say, oh, I'm going to build a beautiful home here for retirement or whatever it is. So eventually this is all going to be a commercial area, in my opinion, in the future. But then again, you guys know better than me, being here and hearing different arguments. But I see a lot of good in it for the community and for myself and for the city as well. So there are a lot of good, I see positive things in it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, our final item for tonight is Z-22-5. What is the recommendation of city staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, this is a public hearing on a request from SSP Investment LLC for 2.78 acres located along the east side of Bagby Avenue and north of Costa Drive, property ID 138689, for A, land use change from open space and medium-density residential office flex to mixed-use flex, and B, to rezone from O1 to C2. The applicant, we mailed out 25 notices on this request and had 0 returned. And the applicant did request a continuance of this case to the February 22nd, 2022 Plan Commission meeting, and staff does recommend approval of the continuance.
Thank you. We will go ahead and open the public hearing if the applicant or his or her representative is here to speak. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition on this item? We will close the public hearing. As staff mentioned, we do have a request for a continuance and a recommendation.
Mr. Chair, we need to keep if we're going to continue, we need to keep the public hearing open.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We will reopen the public hearing. And we have a request for a continuance by the applicant. So we'll entertain a motion to that effect.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve continuation.
Second.
Got the motion by Mr. Vickers. I did not catch you. Mr. Lane seconded that item. So, we have a motion and a second for the continuance. Please poll the commission.
Browse,
Yes.
Briscoe,
Yes.
Embry,
Yes.
Fajardo,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Motion passes. That concludes the item on our agenda for this evening. Unless we have anything else, we will adjourn.
Oh, never mind.